Hello, everybody. How's it going? My name is Thor Young. I'm a moderator with Bear Bull Traders, and I'd like to do a little recap for you. Lately, you've seen in the Bear Bull Trader room, we've been talking about Camarilla pivots a lot. There's a lot of different pivot strategies that I utilize and that we are using, some of them more extreme than others. One of the more populars being what we call the S3 to R3 or vice versa traverses. Those are really nice for what we call the inside day, or when the pivots are showing that the stock is going to be bound to a range, versus an outside day, which shows the stock's going to play outside the range. So today, I found Target very interesting. Target had a really big drop after its earnings news. But its earnings news, what I didn't find particularly upsetting, but probably some profit taking started. It had already been downtrending a bit the day before, so it looked like that just happened. And when we're looking at our levels here, look at my 5-minute down here at the bottom. When you're looking at our pivot ranges, notice how we have this really tight central pivot range, and we're opening really far down. Right, so we're really below what is kind of like established value for the past couple of days, and we've really dropped down, and these are the kind of areas where stocks bounce and get really good squeezes to occur. Right, so I'm going to be waiting to see what happens on Target. So first thing off, Target opened very, very slow, which is not unusual for Target. Even on earnings days or catalysts, Target can tend to trade, not quite so aggressively. So you can notice it sat for a couple of minutes. This is why volume is so incredibly critical. You might see this little bit of a candle sitting up here and you think, oh, wow, 19,000. But for an opening candle, you should have, if you're going to really reasonably trade it, you need 100,000, couple 100,000 shares, even on something like Target, right? So once Target woke up, as we say, it sold off really heavy on volume, and it set this value area right here at 247.74, right above S5. So this is kind of the pivot level that I'm talking about, that I'm going to be utilizing as S5. The further you get away from the central pivot, what I want you to think about is a rubber band. All right, the pivot ranges act as kind of like a rubber band. When you're from S3 to R3, the rubber band isn't very tight, so you tend to just kind of pull back and forth in the middle of the range. But when the stock's getting ready to break out, you go out to the S4 or R4 levels. That's where your rubber band's really, really tight. And that means you're more likely to break out from there, right? So once the rubber band snaps and breaks out, right, the stock really gets going, and you normally see volume that follows it, and it goes until it eventually establishes value. So one thing that I was thinking off the 5-minute chart is that we had kind of established value over here. We're now pulling away from it, but I didn't feel like we had snapped. Like when we moved down here in the pre-market, I didn't see any huge volume indicators. No one big really made a decision. So I'm kind of thinking we can actually pull back. So that's what I was looking for. Even off of this S4 level, it just really didn't feel like we had snapped, because we had this big, big volume that came in under here. If the volume had been up here, then I would almost think we were going to break and really go for a run down. But having the volume actually come in away from S4 down near S5 really started making me look at it. And then we have a hammer into S5, and then we consolidate on it. So once we kind of broke up and made a new 1 minute and a new 2-minute high here, that was all I really needed. So I went long there. I risked my entry candle, got a really nice move up, took 2-to-1, and I got some really nice partials going up here. Each of these partials were really, really small, and I did a really solid core drop at 250, which was my principal target for the whole thing. So doing really well on Target now. I'm up about 5R on it. I also had an Apple trade at the open as well. Let me pop over to Apple here. Got a really nice short on Apple off of R3. So now we're talking about the pivot ranges here. This is what I'm talking about. R3 to S3, that interior traverse. Right, notice Apple opens with high volume here and then presses into R3 on low volume and then throws in decision. As soon as it loses R3 and makes that new low, it pulls back. I'm short. In this instance, because of the way this set up, I was comfortable just using 150.54 as my stop. So I'm in with barely 10-cent risk on Apple. So that gave me a nice drop here, 3-1 on this one. So I dropped only a third, and then another half, and almost completely out there, down to 15% rider position. I tried an add on that when it squeezed back to VWAP. I could tell it wasn't going to go much higher than PDC. I should have put my average above PDC, but at that point, previous day's close, that is. But at that point, it really just wasn't in the right spot. Risk-wise, I should have been maybe a little more patient and then added. I still am seeing Apple as being a little bearish for the day. So anyway, but at this point, I would have added in and still been holding it and haven't gotten profit yet, right? So I moved on to the different stocks. So those are my two main trades today. I tried one trade on NEO that was a loser. So I tried big volume here. And then as it pulled back, I tried to short here. I used the high of my candle here because I was looking at a move down to some big bids. Right idea, poor timing. It did make the move down to the big bids, but I got in a little too early there. Good avocation for not trading the opening minute. But anyway, it's all risk management, right? So lost 1R on NEO, made about 4 or 5R on Apple, and then made about 4R so far. I'm still in a position here, so far up about, ooh, nice. Look at this large buy that came on here on Target. I think Target, we could actually run the entire day's range today, so I'm going to have fun with this one. So, yeah, so a little bit of talk about some pivot ranges there. Hope that was helpful for you all. If you did, please go ahead and throw me a like. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. I'd certainly appreciate it. Otherwise, I'm going to let this Target trade run here for a little bit. Hope you all have a great day and keep it green. Thanks.